first, we're going to get to the big trade that transpired this afternoon. Just huge going on, folks, between the Denver Nuggets and the Detroit Pistons. Allen Iverson, one of the game's best scorers in history, is headed to Detroit for Chauncey Billups, who gets to go home, the hometown kid. Antonio McDyess, both Billups and McDyess used to play for the Nuggets back in the day. And Sam, a second-year player, hasn't played at all this year, but unbelievably big news coming out of Denver and Detroit. And for more on this trade, what we want to do is get TNT's David Aldridge involved here as he joins us now from Silver Spring, Maryland. First of all, thanks for joining us, D.A.
Oh, you know, Drew, I wouldn't miss you on a day like today now.
I got to tell you, unbelievably big, as we said, but tell me, why now? Why does this trade happen 2 games into the season?
That's a good question. You know, Denver was starting to get a little antsy. I think they looked at their team and saw that it wasn't going to be what they had hoped it would be this season. Obviously, after getting rid of Camby in the offseason, they had some adjustments to make. And they needed a point guard. They needed a guy that could come in and kind of get the ball to Carmelo Anthony, get the ball to some of their other players. Allen is a very good passer at this point of his career. I still don't think he's a point guard. I'd be curious to see what Eric Snow feels like because he played with him for many years in Philly. But I know what Denver was doing that. They had to get rid of some contracts. They were right up against the luxury tax. Allen's making about $19 million this year, third most in the league. They wanted to do that. Detroit. Hey, you saw Joe Dumars. You heard Joe Dumars after they lost in the conference finals last year. They was going to blow that team up. He did not like the way they played in that series. They feel like they needed a shot in the arm. They needed someone to kind of come in and put some energy into that group. Allen, as you guys know, is all energy. He's all heart. He plays hard every night. They needed somebody like that who would do that. No, he's not the best defensive player in the world. That's a team that values defense very much. But they feel like Allen, in that environment, will work hard at it. Remember, Rip Hamilton, when he first came there, nobody thought he was a good defensive player at all. Nobody thought Chauncey Billups was a good defensive player when they first got to Detroit. They became better defensive players. They're hoping Allen can do the same thing.
Well, D.A., as we know, money matters all the time, so let's kind of stay on the Motown sound of this part of the deal and talk to me a little bit about the financial aspects of what's going on.
Well, 2 things. Again, Denver's trying to get rid of cap money. Their owner, Stan Kroenke, made it very clear. He doesn't want to pay luxury tax. If they're just going to go out in the first round every year, he can go under the luxury tax and still go out in the first round every year. And it kind of makes sense if you're looking at it from his perspective. So they dumped Camby's salary. They got rid of Iverson's salary. They take a little less back with Billups. They also get Antonio McDyess. We could probably talk about him a little later. Detroit's thing is this. If you look at them in 2010, Andre, look at what they can do. When that LeBron class, that Dwayne Wade class, that Chris Bosh class comes out, they only have a handful of guys under contract in 2010. They got to pay Tayshaun Prince a little more than $11 million. They just gave Jason Maxiell an extension last week, about $5 million that year. They just announced Rip Hamilton got a 3-year extension tonight for, I would imagine, a decent number. It won't be a backbreaker. They're still going to be big players. They'll probably be under $30 million total, 35 maybe. Going into a year when you have those kind of players available, they can easily offer somebody $15, $16 million in the first year. It's my belief, Andre, that they're targeting Chris Bosh. I think that's the guy they're going to go after. Rodney Stuckey is their point guard of the future. He knows, they're committed to him. He's going to be their guy. They just gave Rip Hamilton an extension. They're very happy with Tayshaun Prince and the all-around game that he provides. What they've needed is a big to replace Rasheed Wallace. And I think Joe Dumars, he whiffed on Chris Bosh a few years ago when he took Darko Milicic with that second pick in that 03 draft. I don't think he's going to whiff again. I think he's going to really try to get Chris Bosh in 2 years.
Well, David,
yes.
You're saying all of this, and
sounded good, didn't it, Gene?
It sounds great, David. It sounds great. But I really, do you really think that they're going to try to go after the Bosches and the D Wades and them type of guys? You know them guys who want to stay with the Miamis. They want to stay with the Torontos. That's just a far catch to say that. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well,
I think what do you got to tell me something.
Well, I'll say this. I think Chris Bosh is a guy who he's an Olympian. He's an all-star. He's one of the elite players in this league. But you don't hear Chris Bosh's name mentioned when you talk about MVP candidates. You don't hear his name mentioned when you talk about all NBA first team. And I think, again, the perception, I'm not saying it's right, Gary, but you know the perception is Toronto, it's not in the U.S., and so he loses out on some things that a lot of players who play in the U.S. Get. And I think recognition might be one of those things. So, and look, you know this now. Money talks. Now, they're going to have some money to throw at him, a big check to throw at him. And, people will play wherever that check clears. And whether it's Cleveland with LeBron or somewhere else, they'll go with him. Now, that 15th and 30th, if that check clears in the bank, well, he'll play in Detroit now. So don't get it twisted. You know that now. So, I mean, he'll play in Detroit and it's not like they won't have any talent to surround him with. So I think that's the guy that they're going to try to get in a couple of years. Sure, they'll take a look at LeBron. But LeBron, look, everybody that has cap room is going to go after LeBron. So it's going to be LeBron picking a city as opposed to anything else.
Dre, how you doing? Eric Snow.
What's happening?
My question is, I know that, I'm a big fan of Allen Iverson, you know that.
Yep.
But I wonder, what do you think? Do you think this is a one-year thing for Detroit? Maybe a two-year thing? Or, if Allen Iverson is a free agent, do they keep him, sign and trade?
Question.
If you do that, then it's a year in between that 2010.
Right. No, that's a good question. A very good question, Eric. I don't think they know yet. I think they're going to look at this year. They're going to see what Allen brings to them. If he still has the ability to kind of lift a team. One of the things that they're excited about is they think that this is the most talent that Allen's ever gotten to play with in his career in terms of across the board, the depth that they have on that team this year. They feel like this is as talented a team as he's been on, and so they're excited, and they think he'll be excited about playing with that group, and they want to see what he does with that group. Now, they could remember, you're right, he is a free agent, but Allen's made so much money. I think they're hoping that, like Kevin Garnett, he'll take a little bit less than he could take on a max deal if he likes it there and wants to stay there. Allow them to have some of that flexibility going forward again in 2010 to really be a player to go after some of those other free agents.
All right, D.A., we appreciate you coming in here and helping us out here. And first of all, we got our Aldridge family jackets on tonight. I know Gary and Eric were really appreciating that part of the story.
Yeah,
but,
well, of course.
Hey, stay on top of this, and we'll be checking right back with you, all right?
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing you guys again.
All right. David Aldridge joined us there from Silver Spring, Maryland.